Yeah, you guys definitely aren't going to agree with everything on this video, tell you straight up, but I welcome the dissent because we're talking the three riskiest wide receivers inside the first 5 rounds. Once you get past the first 5 rounds, a little bit later, the risk is mitigated by where you're drafting them. But it doesn't mean risky players are going to be bad. It doesn't mean we don't like them. Some of them on here we don't, one of them we do, a lot. All it means is there's a lot of factors working against them. It also means that there's a lot of unknowns, right? We're speculating on so much shit that it could make them a real boom or bust prospect heading into the season. So let's do it. Top 3 riskiest wide receivers for 2022. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. I respond to all of them, and hit me up on Twitter at Lofty_D. It's right there. Let's make it happen. I'm not going to bury the lead here. AJ Brown in the early 3rd round scares the shit out of me. I'm not saying he can't pay off his price tag. You heard what I said in the intro. He's an elite talent. He's a monster red zone threat, and he's one of the best wide receivers in the league. But the Eagles may not have been the best landing spot to create an electric season out of the 4th-year wideout. Let's consider the facts for a second here. First, it's not like Brown has ever played for a pass-heavy offense. The Titans have Derrick Henry. Dude is a literal human battering ram in their backfield. And they have a good but not great quarterback in Ryan Tannehill. Good at managing the game. He's decent when it comes to using his legs for sure. Scores a lot of touchdowns inside the red zone. But they were bottom 3 in pass play percentage in all 3 of Brown's NFL seasons. And since 2019, Brown's finished in half-point PPR as the wide receiver 15, 11, and 32. So maybe it isn't crazy to draft him as the wide receiver 11, which is where he's going on Underdog Fantasy, but it doesn't come without some pretty significant risks. So we'll get back to the facts here. Eagles ran the ball at the highest clip in football last year, and their season didn't turn around for the better until Nick Sirianni realized that they had a dominant run blocking line and a highly inaccurate quarterback. They still have a dominant offensive line. PFF ranks them number 1 in football heading into 2022, and they might still have a wildly inaccurate quarterback as well. And that's what concerns me the most. All of the superlatives in the world are you're probably able to attribute them to AJ Brown. Dude's fantastic. But you have Devontae Smith, who's a top 10 overall pick from 2021. You have Dallas Goedert, strong pass catching tight end. And the Eagles threw the ball at a league low 50% clip last year. So even if they intend on throwing more, which logic would suggest they do, given that they traded for AJ Brown and they paid him a lot of money, they still aren't going to be a pass-heavy team, especially if Hurts' accuracy problems remain intact. So for Brown to pay off this third-round price tag, early third-round price tag to be exact, we're going to need to see considerable improvements from Hurts. I'd rather draft Michael Pittman in the same round. I know a lot of you guys are here for fantasy football, but if you haven't checked out BetMGM yet, well, you're missing out on a free $200, and everyone likes free money. Shit, if I came up to you on the street and said, take $200, all you have to do is take 10 of your own and put it into a site and bet, you would absolutely do it. The best part is all you have to do is use the link in the pinned comment down below for BetMGM. Take $10, deposit that. Put it on any team to win. Right now it's baseball. Soon it'll be football. Right now it's baseball, but you want to build that bankroll up anyway. You don't need to win the bet at all. You're getting $200 regardless. Take 10 bucks. Use the link in the pinned comments. Sign up. Put that 10 on any team to win tonight or today, whenever you're watching. And when that game settles, that 10 turns into $200. It's like putting a tooth under the pillow, waking up in the morning and you've got money, except in this case, your 10 turns into $200. You don't have to like sports betting. You don't have to like baseball or even need to watch it, but you're going to get $200 for free. And with these sports books trying to get everyone's business, being that the market is booming, take advantage of every promotional opportunity you get. This one right here, BetMGM, 10 bucks into $200. Just use the link in the pinned comments and you're rolling in it going into the NFL season. Believe it or not, Mitch Trubisky probably isn't a downgrade from Ben Roethlisberger. It might actually be an upgrade. And listen, I'm not the biggest Mitch Trubisky fan. I'm not sure there are many of them out there. I won't get deep into the stats because we aren't here to talk about Big Ben, but just take my word for it. Last year, he was horrible. And fortunately, absolutely insane volume can still buoy a wide receiver's production, even if their quarterback's arm is barely attached to their shoulder like Ben's was last season. That's why Diontae Johnson still finished as the wide receiver 9 in half-point PPR last year, because he was second most targeted player in the league with 166 looks. He had a 25.5% target share. Massive when you're talking about a team that threw the second most in the league. He had a 26.5% target share in the red zone, and he ran routes on over 98% of dropbacks. Also, he did all of this despite ranking 50th in target quality rating and 40th in catchable target rate, according to Player Profiler. So why is there so much perceived risk when it comes to Johnson? That's an easy question to answer. There's just this assumption, right? And this unknown, again, a lot of speculation here, that Trubisky or Rudolph or Pickett are really bad. And let's be honest, that could 100% be true, but so was Ben Roethlisberger. Terrible. Go back and look at the numbers for yourself, or take my word for it. There's also a concern that Trubisky, who's currently in line to be the starter, won't target Johnson as much as Roethlisberger did, or that the Steelers aren't going to throw it at the league's second highest clip again. Again, all of that could be true. But Johnson was the wide receiver 9 last year. He's being drafted as the wide receiver 20 this season. So for a guy who's routinely open and even improved significantly on drops from 2020 to 2021, in 2020 he had the highest drop rate in the NFL, Johnson's going to get targeted no matter who's under center. He doesn't have an insanely high ceiling, though, unless the Steelers' offense shocks the world. They currently have the 5th longest odds to be the highest scoring team in the league. But you can draft Johnson knowing he's one of the safest options out there in the early middle rounds. So I think all of that risk is mitigated with the quarterback by where you're taking him and understanding that the target volume is going to be there no matter what. JuJu Smith-Schuster is coming off the board in the middle of the 5th round on Underdog Fantasy right now as the wide receiver 27. Thanks to having Patrick Mahomes under center in Kansas City, you can kind of see why this is the case. There's no denying that his landing spot was strong when it comes to having an elite quarterback and playing for what's expected to be a winning team. But what should we actually expect for him in terms of volume and target share? The Chiefs vacated, it's just crazy how many targets they vacated. 159 targets when they traded Tyreek Hill to Miami. That's massive. And they also said goodbye to Byron Pringle and Demarcus Robinson, which adds up to another 101 targets right there. So you're talking 260 targets gone out of these wide receivers. So things obviously look good for JuJu heading to Kansas City. Where I think a 5th round ADP gets kind of sketchy, though, is the fact that it's not like Kansas City didn't bring in new pass catchers outside of Smith-Schuster. They signed Marquez Valdes-Scantling to a 3-year, $30 million contract. Now contrast that to what JuJu got, 1-year, $3 million deal, albeit with good amount of incentives. They also drafted Sky Moore at 54th overall. It's the earliest they've drafted a receiver since 2011. And while he hasn't lived up to the hype, McCall Hardman, 24-year-old former 2nd-round pick himself. Meanwhile, Travis Kelce hasn't had less than 130 targets in a season since 2017. Last year, Kelce's 22.2% target share was his lowest since 2016. But what's to say it doesn't bounce back to the 25 or 26 we saw the previous 2 seasons now that Hill is gone? And don't get me wrong, Mahomes still attempted 658 passes last year. It was good for 3rd most in football. They are a pass-first team. All of that's not lost on me. And a ton of those targets went to Hill, who commanded 25% of all of Kansas City's looks. So JuJu's 100% going to have a role, and probably a decent-sized one at that. But here's where it gets tricky, and here's where I have some questions. MVS is being drafted almost 40 picks later. And while you'll never be able to replace Hill's production, you can't tell me that the Chiefs are paying this guy $30 million to not fill some of that void that Tyreek Hill left behind. And here's all I'm trying to say. If we don't know who the primary beneficiary is going to be now that Tyreek Hill is gone and they've vacated as many targets as they had, or if the targets are just spread around somewhat equally to everyone not named Travis Kelce, I don't want to spend a 5th round pick on pure speculation. Yeah, I know there's a connection between Mahomes and JuJu Smith-Schuster this summer. All of that's well and good, but until we see it, we don't know a thing. So I'd rather go with MVS with an ADP in the 90s or even more at 101. I think it makes plenty of sense. If you disagree, let me know down in the comments. Appreciate you guys checking these videos out as always. Hit us up down below. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll catch you back here for the next one. Peace.